Okay, Dutch Golden Age, huh? It's a funny game. Let's talk about the components first, because that's easy to discuss. I find the board very attractive. You got to see it during the playthrough. There is apparently some sort of misprint. I saw some notes about it. So for example here, but there's a shield that indicates it. Now if the shields aren't correct, if there's something wrong actually that they screwed up on the chart, on the track, then there's a real problem. But if they just left the names out and the shields are correct, which is what it actually looks like it is, I got no problem at all. You know, it's a minor miss issue. The cards seem to be pretty good quality in terms of everything, but they do mark up a little bit. I got this no, I bought this new. I tried to buy it used, but the auction didn't work out. I've been in several auctions for it, and finally I found it somewhere on sale, and I said, the hell with it, I'm just going to buy it cheap. You got little wooden pieces and little chits that the color kind of marks off them. I don't know if that is just part of the printing or if it's rubbing off already. If it's rubbing off, it's pretty bad. It means they're going to fall apart pretty quickly. The money, I've heard Tom Vassell complained there wasn't enough of it. I had no problem in a 4-player game. He may play a much more parsimonious game. I can't imagine that being a very valid way to try to win the game. You want to turn the things that produce for you into the things they produce, whether they're money or victory points or whatever. So you want to keep your money constantly circulating, and it's not like it hoards up on you. In 2 players, it did hoard up once I got to the point where I was so far ahead that I couldn't spend on anything. But it didn't hoard to the point where it was a danger. It was just a matter that I had a humongous money generating machine, and my wife did not. She had other things, and actually came in fairly close. I find the cards actually kind of attractive, the multicolor, the different color for each of the different types of cards, the different draws. In terms of play, I really like this game, but I don't respect it much, and I suspect it's not very good. I really like the playing of it. I like pulling these cards and seeing what I got. It's kind of like Bullfrog Goldfield in that way. I enjoyed playing Bullfrog Goldfield and then said, whoa, there's something very wrong with that. I don't see something very wrong with this one, but I see the hint of it. Which is to say, I'm not sure there's much here. At the beginning of the game, you're going to make some big choices. Once you've chosen what route you're following, other routes are going to be sealed off to you. You're not going to be able to shift easily, at least in 4 players. And 2, it depends on your opponent. So, for example, I went for yellow regions in my game, and that got me gold. And then I went for the next type of money, which was the seafaring, using my huge capital advantage to get me there. I guess if your opponent grabs up all the yellows, but in a 2-player game, they shouldn't be able to take all of them. You can make your own choice what you want to take. In a 4-player game, though, you may not get what you want. If you want the more staid, relaxed position of the yellow, and so the 2 people before you pick that, you don't get it. You might be able to get it over on the guild chart, which is a nice little clever thing. I mean, you can always go to this. It's not going to go up that high. But, you know, there's a value on your return, on your investment, that you want to keep in mind at all times. So then you become kind of secondary in that. If you're not able to produce the yellow cards at will, basically, it's probably not worth bidding much on them. They're not worth buying if you don't have access to be able to produce your own to match with the ones you're buying. The other option that I see as really viable is the blues at the beginning. Those may have a higher potential payoff. We saw the guy who went with the blues win the game, but we saw somebody who went pretty strong into them just founder on luck, and the other person who came in close went heavily into them briefly and was able to actually get some colonies early on that could produce money. They're going to be your best money bringer, and then they also bring good return in victory points as well. So I think that may be your better choice, but you're taking a real chance that you may not get anything useful out of it, as red kind of showed in my game. But that's the big thing, is I feel like you have a couple of big choices early on. Once you make those choices, you're not going to make any big decisions for the rest of the game. You may make some little ones, and then most of the rest of what you're faced with is kind of luck. I like things like that, except either the decisions are balanced or they're not. Like, I don't mind you're faced with some big choice and then luck. That's the Monopoly feel, right? You make your big trade and then you play and see how it plays out. And maybe you get lucky even if you kind of didn't get away with the best big trade that you could. But here, the idea of making a good choice among a diminishing set of initial land picks doesn't strike me as valuable. And I really do not think you want to start in green or red or gray. Those are all, to me, very substandard picks. And maybe somebody can come back and say, no, that's where you want to start. I saw one comment, I'm not willing to go this far, because there are comments, for and against it, no question. But I saw one comment that sort of captured what I'm thinking here. I usually don't look at the comments when I'm looking through, but I really wanted to, because I don't feel like I have a grasp on, hey, is this game, does it have something? One of the comments was, it gives the illusion that you're making important decisions. And I think that's true. I really do. I think largely you are making important decisions in the truth, but largely there aren't a lot of different... When you're given a path, one of them is usually a false choice, except at the very beginning, between the yellow and blue. I feel like you're given a false choice, usually. Or maybe you're given some choices that aren't going to make much difference to you. And then you're kind of rolling craps for the rest of the game. And not literally with the dice. The little track around here means almost nothing. But with the cards you draw, with what you do with them. What could add a little something? The auction adds a little something to this. It gives you some additional chances for investment, but you don't want to invest in what you aren't interested in. So if you don't have boats coming to you, you don't want to buy a chance to get boats unless it's really cheap. And it probably won't be, because somebody else does really want them. So all you kind of get is the, okay, well, I'll bid you up then. Well, it's clearly not worth it to you. The hell with it. Go ahead and buy it. I just don't feel like there's a hell of a lot here that makes for a rich game. I may be wrong. I may be dead wrong. I've only played it twice. Once two-player, once solitaire. Always the situation with my games, but something in my gut tells me this is not as rich a game as people who usually like Euros want, in terms of, being replayable and having lots and lots of, things to learn about it over a course of time. I kind of feel like you'll see blowouts and kind of say, well, yeah, but he got lucky. Or you'll see close games and say, yeah, but we all got kind of evenly spread. Nothing, there wasn't anything that anybody did that really drastically helped them over maybe this initial impression. That's the feeling I get. Am I wrong? Maybe. You know, that's how life is. Certainly other people seem to think there's more of a game here. Tom Vasel's review seems to be overall positive on it. I'm positive on it in that it's fun to play, you know, and for my needs, it actually fulfills them quite well, which is I can sit down, play a game, feel like I'm making decisions that are kind of interesting, and other than there is a mechanical toll to this game. You're always flipping these little counters over, and more, you're always making change and grabbing money and tossing money, and it's just going in and out, in and out, in and out. It feels like you're doing all this mechanical stuff, and that's okay for me, but I could see a lot of people not liking that for what the payoff is, right? Why it works for me is that, you know, I play a game once and maybe twice, and then I put it aside, and maybe a couple of years later, or nowadays, once upon a time it used to be maybe every 6 months, then every year. Well, now it's every couple of years because the collection just keeps growing. This is one I kind of like. I kind of like the other Dutch games too. I actually like playing this one more than them. But yeah, I don't think there's a hell of a lot here. That's just my initial impression. It wouldn't keep me from playing it, from investigating, and certainly I would love, you know, if somebody feels like, there's so much to this game, and some people claim that. Sure, I'll play against you. Prove it to me. You know, show me. I'd enjoy that. I like being able to see things that I wouldn't see on my own. It happens now and then. I'm not sure there is something like that in this one though. Alright, let's send it up.